here in my Eskimo tent, getting ready to spend the night out here. I have the Fulton stove right there as the primary. I have a Mr. Tent Buddy as a backup. And of course I've got blankets hung up for extra insulation. So let's go ahead and get started and get a fire going. Alright, and as you can see, it's 27 degrees Fahrenheit with 16% humidity. 28 degrees Fahrenheit because I'm in here. And we'll get the fire started and we'll see how toasty we can make it. Alright, as you can tell right now, it's 43 degrees Fahrenheit. We've only had the stove going for about 10 minutes. We do have a bunch of humidity in here because if you come over here, I've got a big pot of water on, gonna make some coffee, and I've got an MRE for later and some bacon and eggs for breakfast. So we'll see how old Sarge handles this through the night. And of course, I do have all my blankets and gear. That's a minus 15 degree sleeping bag and an army wool blanket. That's a Pro Heat vest. That's electric. 3 settings. One is at 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And the other one is 90, and then the other one is in the 70s. And the backup unit that's helping bring the temperature up in here is the Mr. Temp Buddy, or the Mr. Buddy tent heater. As you can see, there's a lot of orbs in here because I did kick up a lot of dirt. This tent is an ice fishing tent, and it doesn't have a floor, so I put down some shipping blankets that are insulated, and of course I have the extra propane and stuff over here. And we'll just see how things fare. I'm going to straighten up some of this disorganization because I threw everything out here during the day. And we'll go from there. And it looks like the Mr. Tent Buddy ran out of gas. So I'm going to replace that tank and I'll be right back in a little bit. So here we are about another 15 minutes in. And it's a nice comfortable 52 degrees. And we'll go ahead and we'll open up the Fulton tent stove so you can see. And it's amazing that this little heater, it's about the size of a shoebox, a boot box maybe, but it has these vents down here on the side that stay open all the time, and then you control the flue there and of course up top. Now I did make a makeshift stove jack, but there is an actual stove jack on the other side of that. The heat is just making that tape come loose. I just wanted to try to cut down on some of the vents. Plus I put some reflective material up, so that should kick around some heat pretty good. It's certainly not going to be like Reforger in Germany for all you Army vets, but we're pretty stocked up. Of course, we couldn't get up on the mountain, so we got this set up in the backyard, but it's supposed to drop down into the teens tonight, so we'll see how we fare. Now, the Mr. Buddy tent heater down there is just on pilot for right now. But the problem with propane heaters is once the temperature gets too cold, the gas won't expand, and you can't get your propane heaters to work. So the trick is to keep the tanks warm. Now, for a big propane tank like you would have on a gas grill, what I actually do is I'll take that Pro Heat vest, turn it on medium, wrap it around the tank and zip it up, and it'll keep it nice and warm. But for these small bottles, I use these hot hands super warmers. You just stick one around it, because tonight when I go to bed, of course I will be loading this up with wood and shutting the flue down and just getting it to smolder to keep it warm in here. But I'm also going to combat the drafts and the extreme cold with that running on low. And with a minus 15 degree sleeping bag and all the other gear that I have just thrown out here in such a mess, I'm sure we'll be very comfortable. Okay, water's almost boiling, so I'll have a nice cup of
2545.
coffee here in a minute. I do have the police scanner going, so you'll be hearing that in the
Sir, it
background.
looks like we have your code 5 reference to Carolyn Jones calling back in. Would you be able to handle that?
Alright, so getting back to the stove, I had to turn the scanner off. I know it seems a little odd to have those vents down there, but inside here there's a secondary box. I don't know if you can see it with the air holes there, so you get the secondary gas burn. And of course there's a removable ashtray down in the bottom. It actually burns very, very clean, very, very hot, and as you can tell, I've only been out here about 30, maybe 45 minutes. The water is at a slow boil, and we're at 61 degrees Fahrenheit in here. And I really haven't loaded up the stove yet, or even cracked the flue open all the way. So it's a good stove. Of course, I've got a heat circulating fan up there that runs off of the heat that's generated from the stove. And let's see what else. And we'll get into the spice bag here shortly when I start to make my snack.
$4320 radio check. 4320. 4327 radio check. Code 4, thank you. 2212.
All right, so we're getting ready to make our coffee. And as you can see, I have the Fulton stove on a folding table that I converted, and it has a sheet of titanium on the top, which actually holds the heat very well, and it's a great little warming table. But I do have my water ready to boil, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my ingredients here. I am using the half and half mousse, the mini mousse. These you can actually pack, and I do. I put them in a little plastic airtight container, and they don't need to be refrigerated, and they're great for coffee or hot chocolate. So we'll go ahead and we'll get that in there, and the other one. Okay, and we'll put some Taster's Choice instant coffee in there. Oop, trying to do this all one-handed. All right, and I do have a spice bag, and what I did was I put various spices in these bottles, and if I can find what I did with the sugar, there it is. So these are lotion bottles that you can buy at any hobby store for very cheap. I think these came about $2 for a package of 3. And I put my spices, my sugars, oil, and we'll go ahead and oh, let me get it open. Here it goes. And that should do it. All right. And I'll get my glove on for safety. Now, of course, this is way over the top of what I would actually take up on the mountain, but because the weather has been so crazy, I didn't want to risk it and get stuck out there. But normally I wouldn't bring this much great attire. This is an extra large cot. Weighs about 35 pounds, so forget packing it. You know, usually I would just go out. This tent, I would use it. There's a door on this side and a door on that side, and I would actually run my hammock in here. I have a hammock that I have set up for winter camping as well, and I would set the stove up in here and the hammock and one small camp chair, and that's it. And you're nice and snug and comfy all night. So let's get this going here. And there we go. Now the top of that stove, if you see that round circle, you can remove it. I do have a small grill that I put on there, and if you open the flue up really well and have a nice draw, you can actually cook on it. So with that, let me get, instead of digging for a spoon, here we go. And we're all set. And here's to you. Well, it's hot, but it's good. Now I have a piece of fire brick that's compressed hardwood sawdust into bricks. Now, of course, I could probably fit a full brick in there and get a really nice hot fire. Burns fairly well, burns clean, but it would be almost impossible to maintain it because it would take up most of the firebox. So, you know, the firebox is about the size of a shoebox, so you have to cut your wood according. And if you have your flue set right, you could probably go about 3 hours without having to refill it. Of course, if you're cooking and you're running it wide open for heat while you're awake, it'll probably run for about an hour, hour and a half. So let me go ahead and close this up before I start the back smoke into the tent. And that's about it. So I'm going to enjoy this cup of coffee, and I'll be back with you when I get ready to open up that MRE. Alright, so as you can see, we hit 70 degrees, and we're going to go over the MRE that I'm going to have for dinner tonight. Now, this is a U.S. Army or U.S. military MRE, and I'm going to be eating Menu 8, meatballs in marinara sauce. Now, I certainly have to say that these are definitely not like the MREs I had when I was in the service. So, let's see. These are like gourmet. So, the first packet, of course, is the meatballs in marinara sauce. And I'll be putting that in the boiling water that I have up there. So I won't be needing the cases and the heater that it comes with. But let's see what else it comes with. So cheese spread with jalapenos. Now, we had 2 packets like this. We had cheese and peanut butter. That's it. But now I guess it's all gourmet. Cheese spread with jalapenos. That's something. All right. And then next, we have the nutrition card for cherry blueberry cobbler. That sounds delicious. We had cherry nut roll and fruit cake. So we have carbohydrate electrolyte beverage powder orange. I guess that's Tang. And a teriyaki beef stick. This is crazy. We never had MREs this good. And this is the blueberry cobbler. And then, of course, you have your accessory package with your sugar. It even has a sugar substitute in there. Unbelievable. That's a small package of toilet paper right there by my thumb. There's a big, huge package of salt in there, though. And then there's coffee and chewing gum. And what else is this? This is the blueberry cobbler itself. It feels more like a pie filling with some solid pieces in it. And then this looks like multi-grain snack bread. So that'll be for the cheese spread. And then this is a mixing bag for mixing your drink in, so you can shake it up real good. That was a big problem we had with the green Kool-Aid. It would never really fully dissolve. So that's my meal, and I'm going to go ahead and heat up that pouch of meatballs, and I'll maybe even heat up the blueberry cherry cobbler, and we'll see how that goes. I'll let you know how it goes when I come back. Okay, Sarge Cliff is back. I just ate the MRE, or what I could finish of it. It was delicious. The quality of the meals definitely has gone up since I left the military. One thing I failed to mention that was in there was an oatmeal cookie. And I couldn't finish all of it, but oh my God, it was unbelievable. Um, I was just totally amazed at how much they've improved. Because usually rations, field rations usually always suck. But these were pretty good. So the temperature's starting to drop outside. I think it's 28 degrees. And so I went ahead and took the Pro Heat vest. And you can see the light on down there. And wrapped it around the extra propane cans just in case I need them. But it's a little bit of an overkill. Uh, this Fulton stove will definitely handle the job and keep me nice and warm tonight. And, it really doesn't matter because the sleeping bag that I have will cover it. Um, if it gets cold in here and the tent, the stoves both shut off, or, something should happen or the tent blow away, I'll still have the proper gear and equipment to stay alive. Now, like I said, this is, backyard camping, so it's, a little bit more than, what I would usually take. But it is nice and comfortable and cozy, so I do have a base of operations when I go out to the field in the winter. Um, and it's definitely a challenging experience, and it's definitely fun. So I'm going to go ahead and make another cup of coffee, sit back and relax, and watch the fire for a little bit. And I'll see you before I bed down. All right, and I'm back. And just one more thing on the MREs. I just recently bought 2 cases of those off of eBay. And I was rather concerned trying to find, current MREs at a reasonable price and that weren't knockoffs, falsely advertised or stuff that was expired. So, and I called a couple of the sellers on eBay, and, of course, I couldn't get any straight answers. But I called this one company, GJ Tech. and got a hold of them. Really nice folks there. I wound up finding out that GJ Tech is the technical side of Core Recycling, which is an electronics recycling company in Colorado. And I spoke to the owner, Ken Burns, who's also an Army vet as well. Really nice guy. I asked him some pretty straightforward questions and told him what my concerns were, and he assured me that these were actual military MREs. And as you could see on the packaging, it says U.S. government property. Commercial resale is unlawful unless you have special permissions to do it, like he did. Um, so he did the research for me, answered all my questions, was straight and up front. These two cases that I bought, a menu A and a menu B, they both had a 2021 inspection date, so I knew that they were fresh. They are not the most current menu out there because this one does not have the pizza that everyone raves about. Um, but knowing the freshness of these and how straightforward Mr. Burns was over there at Core Recycling, I went ahead and I bought two cases. Um, like I said, real nice folks there on eBay, GJ Tech. Tell them Sarge Cliff sent you, and I bet you they'll give you free shipping. Okay, so I'm going to show you another little tool that I made, and this is just a collapsible antenna, but I use it to stoke the fire. And there it goes. You never try to get it to flare up on the first blow. You want to get them nice and hot, and then when you finally blow it, everything catches. Just another little tool that I use to go along with the Fulton tent stove. And right now we're currently at 70 degrees and it's 22 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And we're nice and comfy in here. Alright, so it's 73 degrees in here and about 26 still outside. I actually had to open the tent up for a little bit because it got a little too warm in here, and I had to shut down the intake on the Fulton stove. So that's about it. I'm going to wrap it up for tonight, and I'm going to get into bed, and we'll see you in the morning, and maybe we'll make some breakfast. Good night, everybody. All right, so here it is, about 4:45 in the morning. It's 82 degrees in here. That's because I've got a pot of water going so I can have me some coffee. And I've got me some bacon and eggs with a little bit of cheese and a bagel. So we're going to go ahead and cook that up, and I'll be back shortly. All right, and there you have it. My breakfast is just about done. So that's going to wind up this video for now. This was basically the first of a test. And everybody be safe, be careful, do what you have to do to be happy. Bye-bye.